at Sandag, I asked and invited Mayor Todd Gloria of the city of San Diego. When I spoke, I said, please, you have the microphone next. Tell us that the 5 cent per mile tax will not be charged to people who are still paying the gasoline tax. Not once has anyone stated that it will not be double taxation. It will. The plan is to tax gasoline vehicles a per mile fee on top of the gasoline tax. I've said numerous times from this dais, I said it at the Sandag dais, that obviously as we phase out gasoline, we have to have an honest discussion about where those revenues come from. And I've said I'm willing to have an honest discussion about a per mile charge as one potential way to replace the revenues lost from a gas tax, but only if it is in the context that we all agree that there will be no double taxation, that we will not apply this tax to those who also pay gasoline tax. That is at the core of my opposition. I have invited those who are leaders on this per mile charge, the road user charge, or RUC, as it's now called. I've invited them numerous times to say that they will never support it being double charged. None of them have come forward to say so. In fact, this is going to be a double taxation. I want to address, for those members of the council who weren't briefed on the subject, the state law says that whoever was last appointed to Sandag remains our representative. I think most of you may have been aware of that, so I have been attending the Sandag meetings, and I am very proud of the decision that I made, along with a bipartisan group of representatives from East County and North County. There were 9 of us, maybe 10, who got up and left. And we got up to leave because of exactly what Mr. Hicks was talking about so eloquently. We are being screwed in North County. We are being screwed in East County by the city of San Diego, who is using its population advantage, who has adopted new rules through its representatives. Todd Gloria, being one of them, was a member of the assembly in the year 2017, before he was mayor of San Diego. Sandag was formed in the year 1980, and it required a dual majority system for any affirmative action. That meant that both a majority of the agencies, we call that the tally majority, as well as a majority of the weight, that means the population weighted majority, both had to agree in order to take an affirmative action, an action like spending our tax dollars, the tax dollars that we have paid since 1980. We have paid for 41 years, and we will pay for a total of 61 years under the tax that is currently authorized. Your children will graduate college before this tax leaves us. You've been paying this tax every day of your life. We were promised carpool lanes. We were promised an end to the stoplight at I-5 and 15. We were promised I-5 and 78. We were promised an intersection that worked at 78 Highway and I-15. I appreciate that at least 5 speakers addressed the fact that I walked out. It did exactly what it was designed to do. It got attention. And Mr. Hicks, you brought the subject up because of what I did. Thank you for making the point that my actions were effective. They got it on your lips. They got it on your lips and yours and yours and yours. We got noticed for North County and East County. That's fighting for our community. That's making sure that tax dollars are not sucked out of the city of Vista and never returned to our taxpayers for the projects that in 1980 and again when Transnet 2 was authorized, that our voters voted for taxes for projects we were promised and have never received here in Vista. And with regard to fighting for working families, I am proud that my position opposing a 5 cent per mile tax and opposing the insane imposition of 3 new half-cent sales taxes that would make San Diego County one of the most high tax burden jurisdictions in the state of California. I oppose those things because both of those taxes are regressive. Regressive taxes hurt working families worse than they hurt wealthier families. They cause working people to pay a greater share of their income than those who have more money. For that reason, I will never support increases in sales taxes, and I will never support a 5 cent mileage tax, particularly when it is doubled on top of the gasoline tax. We must find ways to raise revenue that share the burdens of our highway infrastructure system across the spectrum of taxpayers, not putting the burden on the lowest income members of our society. It's wrong, and I will vocally stand up, and I will challenge anyone who works a policy in this city or in this county to try and hurt working families. I will stand in their way, I will fight them, and I will win, because the taxpayers will stand at my back, because I am fighting for them, and I'm doing so proudly. And I do not shrink from my actions. I did proudly walk out of that meeting so that we could talk about it tonight. I'm very, very proud of what I did. We spoke about advocacy of mobility. What about the mobility that 97% of your constituents rely on? That is their single occupancy vehicle, something that we heard was never discussed. Obviously, somebody didn't watch the entire video, because Councilwoman Melendez, who wants to represent our city at Sandag, clearly said it's time to think about eliminating the single occupancy vehicle. I put the YouTube out. Go to Mayor Franklin, search that on YouTube. You can watch it this very moment. It's very clear. You can also watch a number of interesting statements at Transparent Vista. Search that on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so honored. I've made it to the big time of politics. I have my very own political cartoon. Did you see it? It features me personally jackhammering the next lane, the carpool lane, I think it is, into the 78 highway. The carpool lane's a project that I have been advancing at Sandag and have met as recently as last week with senior Sandag officials to advance. Is a project that I understand you to have said, and again, the YouTube clips are available, and I invite you to clarify your remarks. You've said you won't support widening 78 highway. That project is to happen within the existing footprint, but it will widen the lane miles. It will add more lane miles. It will help people who are carpooling get to work sooner and safer. I will fight aggressively to defend Vista families for their right to receive the benefits that they have been taxed on for 3 generations. It is wrong for us to send a representative to Sandag that will support the per mile tax, that will support 1.5 cents additional cost on every single discretionary dollar that is spent by our families. And I'm telling you what, me and the voters, we're not gonna forget. So keep the cartoons coming. I loved it. By the way, I'm gonna get it printed and framed. I understand you were the artist. That's a beautiful job you did. Thank you for that. I can't wait to get it framed. That's the first artwork that's gonna go on my wall in my new office as mayor. Fiscally responsible. I appreciate the discussion about fiscal responsibility. $160 billion is $49,000. It's almost $50,000 per resident for every man, woman, and infant child of this county. And I will not support a regional transportation plan that calls to spend $50,000 per infant child and per 90-year-old and per 9-year-old and 19-year-old in this city. I won't. It's irresponsible. It's an irresponsible amount of money to spend, and thank God the voters of San Diego County roundly rejected those sales taxes, and when they're brought again, they'll be roundly rejected again. And I will vocally fight to oppose those new taxes because they will injure and burden the working families of the city of Vista, and I won't stand for it. So, we will have many questions come before us in the coming weeks on this council, and we will discuss binding resolutions, and we will see, and the voters of Vista will see how you'd like to vote on them. We will discuss binding resolutions to withdraw our Sandag representative for any vote supporting an increase in tax, for any vote supporting the per mile tax. We will find out what you really believe, since you don't seem to want to be transparent with voters about what exactly it is you do believe. And every time you say something, and I got a video of it, you said it right here from the council dais, you were proud of it when you said it, but when I showed it to the community, all of a sudden, we didn't say that, we didn't mean that, it was a joke. Well, I'm not joking. This is not funny to me. I think I might be the only member of the council who was too poor to afford an automobile, who relied on public transportation for years. Okay, there's 2 of us. I'm glad that you understand the plight of working people that can't afford an automobile the way I do.
I still can't.
And so can I. My aspiration as a working, don't laugh at me. I don't laugh at you when you speak. Please be respectful, okay? My aspiration as a working person was to have the freedom and mobility of an automobile. When you talk about freedom of mobility, the families in this city want to be home sooner and safer. They want to be with their families. They want to be able to safely get where they're going. They want to spend time with their families. That's what they want. I spent 1.5 hours in the morning and I spent 1.5 hours in the evening getting to and from work. I took 2 buses and then I took 2 trains. I transferred on the bus and I transferred on the train, morning and night. It was 15 hours of my day, 15 hours of my week, 3 hours a day. You really believe that that is the aspiration of the people that elected you, is to spend 3 hours out of every single day, 15 hours a week, they're gonna have a part-time job. You think that that's what they want? I stand here and I subject myself to the voters right here and right now, and I put my political future at stake that that is not what they want. They do not want to be impinged on that way. 3% of the people of San Diego County drive, and you claim induced demand will soak the highways with additional cars. Where are these cars coming from? You believe that the people that now rely on the social safety net of public transportation will get their Maseratis out of their car, out of their garage, and they're gonna drive them to work. They've been relying on public transportation, but now they're gonna fire up the Rolls Royce. I mean, people are using public transportation because they need the economic ladder. They need that opportunity the way I needed it. That's why I understand the way they need it, because I needed it. I couldn't afford a car, and it wasn't a choice. But when I was able to afford a car, I bought a car because I wanted that freedom. The idea that we're gonna build more lane miles and that suddenly people are gonna start getting out on the highway where they weren't before, I don't believe. I don't believe that. I don't think it's logical. I think people are using public transit, the vast number of them, because they do not have the ability to have a car. So I'm fighting for the true aspiration of working families. That's what I'm here to fight for. I'm fighting for the impoverished families that live in our city. We're 25% below the area median income for the county in the city of Vista. The families that live here are hoping that you will not work to increase their cost of living, that you will not take their single occupancy vehicle away. Why? Because they rely on it, they need it, they're desperate for it. And those who don't have one yet are praying and hoping that God will make a way for them to have an automobile. And I am gonna fight and I will be their advocate. Thank you very much.